Hey, it is just Jay, humble host of Cincinnati's Conscience, the only place I know of where citizens and their stories are celebrated. With me today, I am so excited to say, is not only a Renaissance man, but also someone committed to creating a platform for art and culture to creatively combine and manifest itself in a marvelous new magazine. Sitting next to me today in the Cincinnati Public Library main branch is Deogracias Lerma. He is the editor-in-chief of Pollys magazine, a new periodical on the scene that hopes to not only celebrate the diversity of our community, but also provide a platform for the artists and creative folks that live in a place near you. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Glad to have you here today.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. I am already a fan, but for those who are unfamiliar with you and your platform, can you tell us a little bit about Pollys magazine?
Yeah, Pollys magazine was kind of born out of many things. I've done, I guess, on the purely creative side, I've worked for many magazines and photographed for them, and basically I liked some things about some magazines and disliked some things about them, and I thought, wouldn't it be neat if I could just go ahead and made my own magazine where I loved everything and can not control, but yes, okay, control the content and kind of make it the things that I would always wanted to read or see.
Yeah. And so Pollys was born out of this idea, if you want something done, you got to do it yourself?
Yes, it really did. I mean, when I first moved back from New York, we started Deogracias Lerma Photography in the gallery on Main Street, where we had all photography, because when we came back there was no photography around as far as a venue to show your stuff. And so I decided to start my own. And so we opened up a space and had monthly shows for almost 6 years, and became pretty much the place to see photography in one place, Cincinnati. So fast forward, I guess 10 years or so since we last were at the gallery. This is the same kind of thing. We wanted something, arts and culture, things that I love, things that many people love, and we wanted to tell the individual stories. We want to be able to, the good, the bad, the ugly, just kind of the grit and the below the surface, the story of what's how someone got there, or their inspiration, their method, their everything.
What an honorable way to exhibit one's life and accomplishments. And so for folks who will pick up Pollys magazine for the first time, what can they expect in the pages?
When you look inside, I want people to be able to read about different artists and their stories. I think I've always loved biographies.
Yeah.
And I always love reading about other people's lives, because it always seemed so much more interesting than my own.
That's subjective.
So I basically wanted to talk about artists and what makes them tick, where they get their inspiration from, where they get their motivation, how they do what they do, all those little tidbits of information that you might not find in other magazines. I mean, I want to be able to tell the story when people put down another magazine, of all the things that the questions they still had, and to delve a little bit deeper. But I also wanted to showcase all the different artists. I mean, music, fashion, culinary arts, literary arts, traditional fine arts, what people think of. Everybody there shares the connection that they're all creatives.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter what genre. It's really the someone taking something from nothing and just creating something. That's the story that I've always loved.
Well, what caught my initial attention is not only the visual aesthetics, which are breathtaking. I really commend your eye for photography. It's very apparent on the pages of Pollys, but also this idea of diversity. very often in art and culture magazines, there's a specific image that is constantly perpetuated, and what I was pleasantly surprised to see was that there was a plethora, that's one of my favorite words to use.
Plethora, yeah, that's a good word.
Of images of things that many people can relate to. Can you explain or talk about if that was intentional or sort of accidental?
You know what, I don't think it was intentional. I basically, for the first issue, just got a group of my friends together, people I've worked with in the past, people that I've enjoyed their work and hold in esteem. I mean, folks like Cedric, Michael Cox, the painter. He was the first person I went after, and it was so all these folks. I guess subconscious. It really wasn't intentional at all. It was the people I'm surrounded by, my friends, peers. That's just there's just such a wealth of talent in the city and all around that it really, I don't think, really knows any color.
Yeah. Well, that's refreshing, and it is even more honorable because it was not necessarily intentional, but more of a byproduct of your life experiences, and I think that will resonate well with readers. Can you talk a little bit more about, obviously this first issue is the premiere issue of Polly. You're currently working on the second issue. I met you through an opportunity through a local creative enterprise incubator. Can you talk a little bit about Pollys Evolution from conception to actually manifesting itself in a live magazine? What were some of the challenges you faced?
You know, the magazine has been living in my head, I would say, almost 10 years. And more seriously within the last 5, but really more seriously within the last 2. I had already been talking to many people about, starting something crazy like this. And there were a few people that that might not have seen the vision, but the ones that did, and we decided to move forward with it in February of 2014, I believe, and started planning it, so that by 2015 February, we were going out and finding talent and doing photo shoots and things like that. But it basically became a wish list of all the people I wanted to talk to and capture their stories and their photographs, their images. We were naive enough to start this process, and we're really not knowing what we were doing. We figured, how hard could it be? We're finding
is that
out.
What happened?
I can answer that
Story
now.
of my life.
That's right. So, we definitely know how hard it is now, and, somehow we got it done. Somehow just enough people that really wanted to see it through and be part of it for the love of it, and wanted to join up, and we put it together somehow. And after we finished, I thought maybe let's look back and see maybe how we should have done it, and that's how I met you at the incubator co-starters. And I feel like going through that program was really a great program, and learned a lot, and learned mostly that we were pretty much on track with everything.
Yes.
So
I must say I was very impressed through this opportunity to find not only Polly but Deo, because it is, for those again who have not seen the magazine, such a well done finished product. I mean, it is. It hangs and holds its own with many of the more well known magazines and periodicals here in Cincinnati.
Well, thank you. What I wanted to do is I wanted to create a regional magazine with a national flair. I really, I know we have so much to offer here, and I wanted to, I don't want to say raise the level, because I think we're at a great level of arts in the community, but I wanted to showcase the work on a large stage, and kind of showcase Cincinnati, and having the regional talent, but also having peppered it with national acts, and so that way, you kind of mixed the two, and you showcase Cincinnati on that grand stage, and also bring everybody to Cincinnati and kind of see what we're all about.
Yeah. Again, job well done. If that was the goal, I think you have achieved that.
Thank you.
And with the well-received reception, from what I've heard, your initiation into the second issue is well underway.
Yes, yes.
How has that been?
It's been great. The first issue kind of snuck up on us. We had so much time, a certain amount of time, and then we did everything, just like anything, like studying for exams or something. You did everything in the last hour. And so in the second one, we said we would never do that, and here we are with a projected launch date in July. We have 24 to 27 stories as opposed in comparison to the 12 or 14 in the first one, and we are down to the 13th hour now. Is that what they say? So we again are where we were at before, but I think that's what fuels and drives us. The juices start flowing. Everything just comes into place and fruition, and it somehow happens. So we're banking on that for this one.
Well, I think you're on the right path, and that the universe conspires to give you what you need, because to be able to increase the number of stories says that there is not only value in what you're offering, and so therefore people want to participate in it, but also a real belief that there is an audience out there for it. What do you hope people take away once they get a few reads of Polly? What are you hoping they take away from the experience of the magazine?
I would like someone to be able to say, oh, I learned something, or I had a preconceived notion about this person, this artist, and I found out either, oh, I was right on, or I've learned something, and I had no idea that was, that was the journey that they took to get to you. You see people with successes, and you think that they're just there, that all of a sudden they're successful, or, and I mean success not monetarily, I just mean in their art. But not everyone realizes the hard work that really goes into that the journey, all the times they almost quit, all the times. So I think I want people to get a more of an appreciation of what creating art and in all these different areas, what it really takes to do that.
Yeah. I think in reading a few articles from this first issue, one of my favorites was the one for Jose Salazar, and really learning about him honoring his grandmother through his second restaurant endeavor, and how those stories that we traditionally and historically expect to shape our personal lives bleed into our professional careers, and how the effort in starting a business, the focus is often on the return. For many, more importantly, is about the legacy left. So if it is about honoring family and friends, and we'll talk about Polly and how it's got its name a little bit later, if it's about honoring family and friends, or acknowledging the contributions of those in our community who impact this particular piece of our history. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful place to find those stories.
That's definitely true. I mean, even with stories that you hear from families sitting around with your family, listening to different stories, that's all such a powerful time. But when you chronicle it, when you write it down, when you make it permanent, and then that engages more and more readers, and more learn about the story. I think that's really powerful. That legacy and really carrying it forward.
Well, you have gifted writers who do that extremely well, and you also complement it with fantastic photography. Fantastic photography. Is that your first love?
It is. You mean the photography, the writing?
Yes.
No, we do. I have to say we have some really great writers, and new writers coming on board as well for the second issue. Just a bunch of a different range of creative writers that are really going to make the difference in the second one too. the photography, yes, it's definitely my first love. It's something that I can't imagine not doing. And so, especially as a person in the healthcare field that I've done most of my life, stopping that and occupational therapy in the last August, I stopped doing that, and doing this full time and really appreciating the everything, the struggles, but then just being able to meet all these great people and capturing their images, getting creative and really getting to know the person, and that's the fun part of it for me, and I love doing that. Now I'm not going to do all the photography pretty much like the first one, but I was pretty cheap back then.
Frugal.
Yes, I didn't charge much to myself to shoot it, but this issue I definitely want to include a lot of talented photographers. There are so many, so look for that too.
I think I appreciate that you are appealing on many sensory levels. So there is the visual, clearly the photography and those aesthetics, but also there are for me, more important intangibles, creating this sense of connection through story. This platform, Cincinnati's Conscience, is grounded in that. And so the opportunity to understand and engage through story sharing impacts many people on a level who are not solely visual learners. So I'm grateful for that. Do you have any advice for those? Because as an entrepreneur, there are lessons learned. Some I suffer, so you don't have to. Are there any bits of wisdom that you can share with listeners as to those interested in starting on their own journey?
Well, I guess I don't know how qualified I am at this point for giving
you are
advice.
More than you've lived. That is the only requirement.
For me, it's like, getting the next one out, and then as soon as you could take a deep breath, and then all of a sudden you realize, the next one's coming out. So looking back on getting that first one started, I think it was driven by passion. I mean, there are no directions. I think that's if I did have to say any kind of what I've learned about myself and how I've come about doing things is that if you want something, if you're not happy with the status quo and you have your own way to see things, just do it. I know Nike already took that.
I love you.
but really, I think you just need to go out there and get it and do what you want. And if people like it, great. And if not, it's okay. You're still doing what you want. So luckily, I think people are kind of liking the magazine and what we have to offer. So that's great. But this is fulfilling a lot of things internally for me. So it's not accolades I'm looking for. It's just sustainability and wanting to be able to keep doing it for people. I think then when you have an audience, you kind of owe it to people then to keep doing what you did. You got them in there, and now they want more, and I got to give it.
Well, if the initial numbers are any indication, you are doing well. Can we talk about where Poly is? How many people are into Poly? What are some places people can go to? Because Poly is not only a tangible magazine, but it's also an online presence. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yes. We're available, at the regular boutiques, restaurants, galleries. We're now at the CAC gift shop as well. So, I mean, we're spreading. We are working with 21C at this point too, getting our magazine in every guest suite. So I mean, we are where we need to be.
Traditional places like Joe Bath and Barnes and Noble, also Fountain Square Booksellers.
Yes,
that's another place.
We're there. The Roebling Point Books and Coffee.
Okay.
We're there too.
Talk a little bit about Poly Online. Why was there a need to also have an online presence to complement the magazine?
Well, I guess it was really a no-brainer when it comes to, it wasn't like, hey, you know what, we should have something online. It was more of a, yeah, we've got to get something online. And, what I love about the paper, the very things I love about it, the texture, the feel of it, the smell of it, the size of the magazine, all those things.
Great size. You have to check it out for at least that. You know? Great size.
Yes, and it's all those things I love, the experience, the analog version, the magazines. But at the same time, we needed something to appeal to a larger amount of people, people that might not be able to get the magazine or find it, but online we're also able to tell additional stories.
Yes.
To fill the gap, because we're twice a year, so between 6 months there's a lot of time there that we can fill, and we're showcasing all kinds of creatives, restaurants, music festivals, things like that. So we're with events and things like we're really able to kind of keep the conversation going.
Yes, expand on the brand.
And we've had great reception with that. We have our numbers are just skyrocketing.
Can you talk about those for interested advertisers?
Our website alone has over 20,000 views in the last 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've got readership in over 52 countries.
Readership in over 52 countries.
Yes.
And that's beautiful.
It is. It really
so there
is.
is this broad appreciation for, again, not only the aesthetics, but the content of what you're offering through Poly.
And what's great about that, yes, is that people want to read, in different countries want to read these stories too. And we have a ballerina who has roots in Russia, Eastern Europe, and we've got a creative designer, magician, and Homer Lewag.
Oh, that story was great.
We'll be able to, through the website again, keep things current, and have a magazine. So we have paper products. So we have 3 different avenues, 2 at the moment, but we will have 3 different ways to get Poly out there. And
oh, wow.
So we do have Poly advertising online, as well as in the magazine and the paper, and as well as social media. How did I get the name? Firstly, I guess I was trying to think of different names of what was some really inspiring kind of words, titles, and you drop in a .com after it and everything was taken, and I realized then that through my love for like fashion magazines and things like that, and there were a lot of quirky names like Lulu, Lula, Frankie, and all these kind of neat names that you really didn't know what it was, but it was just kind of caught your attention. So I decided I would, but I wanted to still have something that really meant something to me.
Yes.
And what happened was, growing up, we were definitely encouraged to go the healthcare or engineering route or things like that, and that's all good. And but there was someone who basically said to go for it, to explore the artistic side that I definitely had and wanted to do as a photographer, and I've taken sculpting, painting, all these things, and there was one person that really encouraged me to, despite all the other other avenue that I pursued, that I should really check it out and keep it alive.
Yes.
And so in coming up with a magazine, I decided to name it Poly, which is the nickname of my mother, who is the nickname of my mother, who definitely encouraged me to pursue my passions, my dreams. So
I know to my kids, when you reach the level of success that is acceptable by the masses, don't forget my name, all right? If you need me to spell it for you, I will. Again, I think that is a beautiful honoring of your mom and you and the commitment you both had to each other. I think it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It became a no-brainer to me after a while, and the name, it doesn't hurt that it's a kind of cool, trendy name.
Yes, it is. Yes,
but
it
people do
is.
wonder, what is Polly, and what does that have to do with anything? And
Yeah.
When they open up the page, I think they're pleasantly surprised at what they find.
Yes.
And when they hear the story, I think everyone can kind of relate to their mothers. So.
Yeah, I hope so anyway. Hey, it is Just Jay, and again, I am with the founder, editor-in-chief, and creative director of Pollys Magazine. You can find them at pollymagazine.com. It is Deogracias Lerma. And any final thoughts? Let's talk about who's going to be in this second issue. I'm really excited to hear who I can find in the next issue.
Yeah, we've definitely doubled the amount of artists and amazing artists. And off the top of my head, locally we have Lisa England Schuster, a fine art painter. She's amazing with an incredible story. I think you're really going to love hearing her story. An unconventional way of becoming a painter. She started when she was 30.
Wow.
After
seasoned in the city.
Yeah. So she'll be a great interview and a great story and amazing work. Also, we have the King. I think everyone should know Jean Robert by now here in the city. He is starting.
He is the King.
He has a new restaurant called Elle coming out, and I like to say that he named it after my last name, Lerma, but.
Yeah, go ahead and say that.
Actually, we're having a photo shoot shortly with him for the issue. Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be great. We're going to basically try to tell his story, not so much about the restaurants, but
I've
of
had
course.
the pleasure of interviewing him. He's an awesome storyteller.
Yeah.
Awesome storyteller.
Yes. And while I'm talking about that, you know what? Our writers, we were talking about our writers, how important they are, photographers. They're equally, talented, and they could have stories written about them too. We want to showcase our writers, our photographers. So everyone appear in the magazine, whether you're the subject for the interview or the writer or the photographer, all those, I think that's what we want to showcase everyone.
I appreciate you saying that, because very often folks don't acknowledge the team.
Right.
And it's important to do that. Make sure you pick up Pollys Magazine in the many places that you can find them. And if you are not close to those physical spaces, make sure to check out Pollys Magazine online, pollymagazine.com. Thank you so much, Deo, for taking time out to talk with me.
Thank you very much
I
for
look
having
forward
me.
to sharing you and the many things that you do with listeners. It's Just Jay, humble host of Cincinnati's Conscience. Big hugs and natty love.